Up, y'all, it is Soliel Lindsey. I am the owner of Soul Rise Essentials, and we are back for another episode of Soul Seek Conversations, which is a mental wellness podcast for humans, for resilient humans on the grow. Okay, so today is episode 24. We are back with a special guest, Mr. Barry Farmer of what's your radio show called, Barry? I'm going to let you tell them when you come on here, okay? Before we get into today's episode, I want to welcome y'all in, share this video with somebody. If you are watching the replay, hashtag down at the bottom, replay, leave us some hearts. Y'all know our brand colors are yellow and orange, so if you want to leave us some yellow and orange hearts, do that. What's up, y'all? Thank y'all for joining me. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Mrs. Green. Thank y'all so much. Before we get started with this episode, as always, I just want to give you a little bit more about why we exist, give y'all some updates, and then once Barry is in here and I'm ready, we will bring him on. Why are we doing this podcast? Okay, so if you are familiar with us, your first time seeing this brand, anything of it, let me make sure I'm turned up. If you are not familiar with us, Soul Rise Essentials is, we sell affirmation and mental wellness apparel for resilient humans on the grow and for their little ones. So we make merch for the entire family. It's sized for all of you guys to enjoy, to spread the good vibes together. We know what it's like to be on our healing and our wellness journeys, and we're just trying to be our best selves, right? We are, we call the Soul Tribe family. We are simply authentic humans living our experiences. We don't aim to be perfect, but we want to try to be the best versions of ourselves, right? So I, the owner, have created a bright, colorful, vibrant, positive apparel for you and your children to wear on your best days, your good days and the bad days and the ones in between, just to kind of lift your spirits, and also as a conversation starter. So if you haven't guessed by now, we are really big on mental health and mental wellness, right? And so on this podcast, Soul Seek Conversations, we share the brave voices of other people. So let me just read you something real quick. Soul Seek Conversations is a mental wellness podcast that exists to share stories of resilience, build global community, and for you to discover new ways to thrive via the brave voices of others. So the brave voice that we have coming on today is Mr. Barry Farmer, y'all. I cannot wait for y'all to meet him. Such a good spirit, such a great personality, and his story, y'all gonna hear it. So shout out to y'all for being interactive. Shout out to the best tribe, the Soul Tribe. We appreciate y'all. Tag a friend in the comments. Share this video with them. Also, some house updates, y'all. So we're moving into the fall months. As you know, we're based in Richmond, Virginia. Some of y'all are not, which I love. I love that the Soul Tribe family is building, is growing in that way. So it's cooling down. And so we got some cool weather merch coming back. Y'all have been asking, okay? For this shirt, we have this Pack Light affirmation tee, and it's like a long version. So it has the Pack Light message going down your right shoulder, which we love. I love to scrunch up my shoulders, y'all. So I'm gonna just scrunch up my sleeves, but this will be coming back. I'm still trying to debate on like what colors I want to bring back, so y'all gonna have to give me some feedback. I know we definitely gonna go with the black. I actually want white. I want white with black, so a white t-shirt, long sleeve with black writing. And I know how y'all feel about white t-shirts. I know I can't keep them clean either. However, I feel like that would be so dope, especially with the sleeve. Come on now. And there's some other color options that you all have given to us. I actually see another one in my head right now. So I need some feedback before I order these shirts, okay? Because they need to sell. I'm not playing with it, okay? They have to sell. They can't just sit in here. And then also our Do Good, Be Good hoodies are absolutely coming back, dropping very, very soon. This hat that I have on, our Pack Light affirmation dad hat, is going to be coming available on our website soon too. So it's with our photographer. We actually got some new stuff for the kids coming. So what I need y'all to do is get on our email list, go to soulriseessentials.com, and the pop-up will appear. You can either get on our text list or our email list, and you will get a 15% off code for just being a part of the VIP Soul Tribe, okay? The VIP Soul Tribe, they learn about stuff way before the general public does. I do like soul notes, which has been a while since I've done that. But I write to y'all, just kind of lift your spirits up. You get to vote on different apparel options that we have coming up. And also secret sales. You never know what's going to happen in that inbox. So get on there. But also I want you to get on there because anytime that we have new apparel coming out, it's hitting our VIP Soul Tribe first. You want to be able to shop it first before it sells out. I'm going to tell y'all right now, them hoodies going to sell out. Okay. We got the orange one with the white writing, and then we have the black one with the white writing as well. But again, new color options will be available in that too. So stay tuned if you want to know what's going on. You also behind me see, do I have it over here? Let me grab it. We got some other new stuff hitting the website as well. So I live in Virginia. Y'all know that. And Ms. Green, I got your email too. I'm gonna email you back. But this is brand new. So VCU is huge. Virginia Commonwealth University is huge in my area. And so we now have a bucket hat. This will be on the site as well. If you want to be the first person to get one of these, get on the website. They're going to sell out. Speaking of VCU, just some more updates. So Soul Rise Essentials is a part of the Shift Retail Lab at VCU. So I don't have my mug today because it's with my photographer. So I need to order some more Soul Seat Conversations mugs. But I'm going to be repping the Da Vinci Center at VCU today, and also VCU Shift Retail Lab. If you want to know what I'm talking about, why I'm bringing it up, go to my Instagram. You will see the latest reel that we put up. There's also going to be more information coming out as well. But I'm so excited to be, I don't want to say partnering with VCU, but to be a part of their program. I was selected, and our merch is on their retail shelves right now. So more information to come on that. But shout out to VCU Da Vinci Center of Innovation and also Shift Retail Lab. So happy to be doing that. Again, go get on our website. Go get on our email list on our website, text or email, so you can know when all this new stuff drops. Okay, because it's coming. We got stuff for kids too. Okay. All right, Barry. I see you requesting me live real quick. We are going to be doing a mindful moment, y'all. So Barry, just be prepared when you get in this soul seat to do a mindful moment with me, because my morning has been hectic. I need to do some deep breaths. That's a new segment that we started doing on the podcast. So be prepared for that. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any other updates. Okay, we always have to do this trigger warning, y'all. Okay, because Soul Seat Conversations, we get deep, we still have fun, we still laughing, but we sharing these stories. Okay, people's lives are not always peaches and cream, roses, butterflies, sunshine, all that stuff. We done been through some stuff, hence why this business exists. But we are changing the conversation and how we approach mental health and mental wellness. So some of the things in Barry's story and anybody else's story that you hear on this podcast may be a trigger point for you. So I just want you to recognize how you're feeling when you're hearing certain things, and be able to like click off and come back if you need to. But just definitely want to let you know that some things in his story may be sensitive to you, may not, but just want to put that out there. If you have a mental wellness story or resilient story that you would like to share on our podcast, go to just email us. It's mystory@soulriseessentials.com. That's SOL riseessentials.com. And just let us know what your story is. I'll see if it's a good fit. We'll set up a pre-interview if it is, and then we'll get you on our calendar. But we're all booked up for the rest of this year, okay? So we'll be looking at 2024 as an option for your story. But yeah, let's welcome Barry to the Soul Seat, y'all. Before I do that, I'm just gonna send this podcast to a couple more people. It's been a while since we've done a 12 p.m. one, so I'm gonna just let the folks know. Oh snap! Hold up, y'all. I'm gonna just let the folks know that we are live, and we gonna bring Barry on up in here. Hold on, y'all. And again, you could tag some folks and share with them as well. Boop, boop, boop. All of y'all getting the invite. Boop, my auntie getting the invite. Sherelle, you getting the invite. Don't play with it. Barry Farmer Morning Show, y'all getting the invite if y'all not already here supporting y'all friend. All right, Barry, I'm bringing you in right now. Y'all know Instagram be acting funky. Also, you can see all past episodes of our Mental Wellness Podcast on YouTube, so follow us on that too. Hey, Barry.
Hello there. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. How are you?
I'm here. I'm juggling a lot right now, but we're about to take this deep breath, and we're gonna be all right after that. Welcome to the Soul Seat and Soul Seat Conversations. I appreciate you giving me your time today.
No problem. I was patiently waiting. I was like, oh yeah, do your business, girl. Do your business.
Yeah, I keep talking. It's been a while since I've been on here, so every time I get on, I just try to give an opportunity to catch up, let the folks know what's going on, and then we bring you into the Soul Seat.
Nice.
So how are you doing? I'm going to ask you two questions because we are a mental health podcast. So that's the first part. And then I'm going to ask you a second question after that. How are you doing?
I've been better.
Okay.
but I, growing up, one thing my grandma used to say when doing things is somebody asks her how she's doing, she's like, I can't complain. And I can't complain. I'm still amongst the living. I'm still doing what I love to do. So, I can't complain. I've been better, but I can't complain.
You know what? And that's the older I've gotten, I
Mm-hmm.
start to adopt like wisdom that my mom and my granddad have imparted on me. Of course, when we were younger, we didn't listen to them. Maybe we listened to some stuff, but
Right.
like certain stuff I find myself saying now, and that's my same response. Like, I can't complain.
Right.
And the second part of that, my granddad be like, and he was like, even if you wanted to complain, don't nobody care anyway.
Don't nobody want to hear it anyway, so ain't no need of doing it.
And the people who know us, who love us, our tribes, they do care about how we doing, child.
Right.
But we here, we cannot complain because it could be worse, right?
It could be worse, yes.
Second part to that question is, how is your mental health on a scale from 1 to 5? How you feeling with that?
I'm about an 8 today, so I'm doing really good.
Oh, you shot up off the chart, honey. I said 1 to 5.
Oh, well, I'm 8.
I love that.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. I wake up, when my eyes open, I'm like, well, another day. So,
That's
yeah,
right.
I'm an 8.
Okay.
I'm thankful.
Off the charts, y'all.
Yes.
I love it. Well, for me, I always like to share and be transparent with my guests too. So I'm gonna stay on the 1 to 5 track.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I'm about a 3.5, maybe a 4, only because I have so much that I'm juggling, and like mentally, when you have a lot on your plate, you're not performing at your best, right? So I cannot sit here and say that I'm a 5, but I'm not depressed, thank God, none of that. But just trying to keep everything afloat. You know what I'm saying? Keep all the balls in the air without dropping anything. So yeah. So we got some love in the comments. As always, Soul Tribe family, anybody that's watching the replay, feel free to make comments. We love talking to y'all, support, questions. We are open for it all. So I see Andrea from Forward Foundation VA comment.
I love her. Hey, Andrea.
She says, hi from 2 of my favorite people. We absolutely love you over here. Hello. All right, Barry. So
yes,
you know that we are based in Richmond, Virginia, but there will be people who see this beyond, right? So introduce yourself to them for those who don't know you. Who are you?
Well, here's who I am. I am Barry Farmer, born and raised in Richmond, Virginia, North Side.
North Side? Yes.
Yes, I'm first and foremost the father of 3. Then I'm a radio personality here in Richmond, Virginia. I host the Barry Farmer Morning Show with Soliel Lindsey. All around, overall, I consider myself a pretty good guy, pretty caring guy, pretty involved guy in the community, making sure that, my community is being uplifted and gets the things that they need. People around me get the things that they need. And that's pretty much who I am. And I'm also a foster care advocate for older children who are in adoption, who are in foster care, who are in need of adoption, or those who may be in need of a home in foster care, because we always need more foster parents. So I'm always encouraging people to get involved in that as well and advocate when I can.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you a question. Why did you specify for older children in the foster care system?
Because those children are at risk of being homeless. And, there was a particular speaker who is on the foster care circuit. I forgot his name, though. But he was like, every child is one caring adult away from being a success. And our older kids are like one caring adult away from being a success. And if we can just get more people involved to help guide them or to just give them those opportunities. I always say, foster kids, people think that they're going to get involved and they're going to save the kids. Foster kids are a different type of child because they've experienced something very different and very difficult. They don't really need you to save them. They need you to give them opportunities to thrive because they've been doing pretty much surviving on their own. They don't need you to save them. They're pretty good at that. I was pretty good at that. So, they just need opportunities. They need people to put them in the rooms where they can flourish and, get away from the distractions of life that may take them down the wrong path. Because if you have an opportunity to do what is right, or to do something that you love or that you feel will take you to another level, then you should be able to be put in those rooms that can help you get you there, instead of being distracted by maybe the drugs or the streets or people who are not for you, that you think are for you, but you're settling for them because you have no one else.
That part.
But if you have someone that's in your corner, that's rooting for you and just, holding you accountable and doing things to help you get ahead, then that is why I advocate more for the older kids, because
I
they
love
need the people.
that answer. I was not expecting any of that. But
Yes.
no, it makes sense. It
Yes.
absolutely makes sense. And I want to share
Yes.
something to tie into what you just said. But before
Mhm.
that, let me reel it on back. I said that we were going to do our segment where we just kind of take a mindful moment. So everybody in the
Mhm.
comments watching the replay, y'all join us. Let me tell you, breathing, deep breathing is powerful. We all breathe every single day. If we still in the land of the living, we're breathing right now.
Yes.
But I have
Yes.
found on my journey of mental wellness and just healing, all of that stuff, that just pausing and doing intentional, deep, slow breaths really helps to reset your nervous system. And so again, I was doing a lot before turning on this camera. I'm a caregiver for my grandfather. I have a 4-year-old. I'm running a business. I work for a nonprofit. Sometimes you got to slow down, okay?
Yes. Yes.
So we're
Yes.
gonna take a mindful moment. I like to just do 4 breaths, and then I go in for 4, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 4. So y'all join us. Maybe this is something you're not used to seeing, but I guarantee if you slow down and just do it with us,
Mhm.
you will feel immediate calm. I'm trying to tell you, it's the simplest thing you can do.
Okay.
All right, so let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. Hold it for 4, and out for 4. One more time. Hold, out. One more time. Hold, out. Last one. Make it meaningful. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, and then out. Real slow. That resets me
Mm.
every single time. It's such a simple thing, and
It
I
is
was
a
like,
simple thing. I like that.
yeah, and it really helps. Like, I feel so calm, seriously. So anyway, thank you for doing that with me, and also
Yeah.
thank you for sharing with us how you feeling mentally, how you feeling in general. I want to reel it back a little bit because you've talked a little bit about like why you advocate for foster care children and the foster care system, but you got a lot going on. I know that you're a dad
Mm-hmm.
of 3,
Yeah.
a single dad of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to just tap more into who you are as a person. Like, we've heard like what you advocate for and things like that.
Right.
But I'm always really interested in like the personal stories of people
Mm-hmm.
like you, folks that we see doing things. And I just want to know like why you're doing what you're doing. So you and I had an opportunity to do a pre-interview call, and I was just really impressed by the things that I learned. So I just want to reel it back. I know that you mentioned earlier that you are from Northside Richmond, and so am
Yes.
I. And we
Yes.
actually did not get a chance to, I didn't know that. Like, we went to the same high school
We did.
and
We did.
everything. I came out in '09. You came out
Oh, six.
'06.
So you were there,
I
but I
was
didn't see
there.
it.
I was there. And I just love these full circle
Uh-huh.
moments in my life right now. There have been so many full circle moments in my life, I would say, over the last couple of months. And like talking to you was one of them because you came out in '06. Well, you came out in
Mm-hmm.
'06. 6, 7, 8, 9. So I was just entering into high
Yeah.
school. So yeah, we were in the same freaking school, and I didn't even know
Mm-hmm.
who you are. I started hearing your name when I started working for the Forward Foundation, and
Uh-huh.
maybe I've heard about you before, but like when we became friends on social
Mm-hmm.
media, I started seeing all of our mutual friends. I'm like, these are people I used to hang out with.
Right.
So how we never crossed paths is like
Which is shocking
crazy.
because Richmond is small.
Richmond is
Richmond is very small.
small. We went to the same school, probably lived very close in the same neighborhoods. We
Mm-hmm.
have some of the same friends. So I just think that is amazing that we finally crossed paths. But I'm a believer in things happening when they're supposed to.
Yes.
But like you talk about being in foster care and us
Mm-hmm.
growing up in the same
Mm-hmm.
areas, right? So I want to know, like, what was it like for you growing up in Northside, and how in the world did you even become a kid in the foster care system? How did that start?
It started when I was very young. My parents were addicts, and I was staying with my mother, who in turn, wasn't handling her responsibilities, just being clear about it. And I ended up staying with a bunch of relatives and friends of my mother, here and there. I was one of 5 of my mother's kids. It's hard to put 5 kids together in one home. Everybody has to go somewhere else. Nobody's going to be like, oh, I'll take all 5. And
Right.
we'll do,
That's a whole lot of y'all
that's
now.
a whole lot of us.
Yeah.
So, you go here, some people go here, some people go there and whatnot. So that started the kinship process of foster care, which is kinship is foster care when you're not with your parents, you're with others, and so that started that initiated that, and I ended up staying with my aunt, who was like my mother today. Is like there's like I call her my mom T.
Your
So
mom too.
my mom T. So she's been someone that's been very, very consistent in my life. And I ended up staying with her and my sisters. They were staying somewhere else. And, CPS gets involved in things. And my aunt wants to get my sisters, but they can't come because I'm in the home. Males and females can't share the same room. So, yeah. So my aunt ended up reaching out to my grandmother, Cora, who I didn't know. I didn't have a relationship with her. She was like a stranger to me. But she ended up reaching out to her and asking her, hey, I have, this is your son's son, and I need to get his sisters, and I just want to know if you'd be willing to take him in. And she did. She did it. She didn't have to. That's what I did all both. And she didn't have to do this. My grandma was an empty nester. She was like in her 50s. She didn't really have to do.
And this was
task.
paternal or maternal grandmother?
Paternal. Yeah, she was my father's mother. And so we went through the whole court process. My aunt had to convince me to go with her because I didn't know her. And my aunt made me a promise. She was like, oh, if you go, I will come and get you every weekend, I promise. And she did that. She came and got me every weekend for 5 years straight.
Oh, wow.
And she came, and I got to spend time with my sisters in the process of that. And it was very, that's why I learned what a promise meant,
I was just about to say, I'm sure that is important as a foster child. It's important for anybody, any child, but a foster child and somebody keeping their promises is important.
Right. And I'm the same way with my kids. If I make a promise, then you consider it done. I don't say anything to them that I can't deliver.
Right.
If I can't do it, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not going to be, I promise I can do it. Just one day I'll do it, I promise. If I can't do it, I can't do it. And I like that I learned that from her, to keep my promises to kids, because, my parents would make promises and then they wouldn't deliver. They wouldn't show up. Even when I was in this process, I lived with my grandmother. They'd show up every now and then they'd disappear for a while. But then before they disappear, they make a promise that I never see them. So, that part of it, I knew I was not going to be that type of parent.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I'm in Northside. My grandmother lives in Northside. She lives in Battery Park. That that area right there, that street that's right there, Battery Park.
I used to live right over there too. That's so
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I went to Naro, and when I tell
you... Oh, yeah, we went to the same elementary school,
Did we?
Yeah, we went to Naro. We moved to Richmond, Virginia in the year 2000 in third grade, and we went to Naro third, fourth, and fifth grade. Okay.
I think I was there 2000, then we went to middle school. Yeah. I think I just left.
Crazy.
But yeah, so I went to Naro, and when I tell you, Naro was like a godsend for me as a child going through what I was going through.
Yeah.
Because I think they knew my situation, but the staff knew. The kids didn't know. I didn't ever tell kids what was going on with me. And I didn't never tell the staff either, but teachers know because they have to know these type of things and whatnot.
Yeah.
And me working with different teachers in that school, being in different classrooms, and they're all saying the same thing about, he's such a sweet kid. And I just want to still be a sweet kid. I didn't want to,
right.
Give the impression that I'm going, oh, I miss my mom, or I don't know, I miss my dad, or I did all that, what we go through as foster kids. I wanted to be that sweet kid, and I didn't want to cause any waves. I didn't want to make my grandma mad and have to come up to the school and get me, or what. None of that. I didn't want to bring any more trouble than what was already being promised, so to speak. So, with that growing up, I did, there were moments that I see people with their mom and their dad, and people coming to eat lunch with them at the school, and it's stuff, the little things affect how we feel and what we see, and them walking.
But they're little, but they impact you greatly.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, one of my biggest relationships out of Nara was my third grade teacher, Miss Sims Morton.
Which I remember her.
You remember her? one of my favorite people. We ended up being very, very great friends in my adulthood. And she was my third grade teacher. And when I tell you, Miss Sims probably knew what I was going through, and she was like, "Well, we're going to do a few distractions for that. I'm going to pick you up. We're going to take you here. We're going to take you there." Because my grandmother didn't drive, so I was just stuck on the block. If it wasn't for her or anybody else, I was just stuck on the block unless we were catching the bus together somewhere. So, Miss Sims was someone who introduced me to everything outside the block of Overbrook Road.
Thank God for Miss Sims Morton.
Right. So, and I mean, I'm talking about going like to DC and to the amusement parks and to church and to all this, everything that I probably should be experiencing as a kid and as an African American kid that wants to learn more and do more. And she can see that. And, with that, that's when I learned that mentorship is important because I consider her my mentor. Another mother that, these are people, somebody that you wish, I wish this was my mom. I wish I could live with her because I know she's going to root for me and take care of me and things like that.
And imagine how different your life would have been if you'd never met her and she didn't expose you.
Right, exactly. Because everything she showed me, I ended up showing my boys. Everywhere she took me, I ended up taking my boys. So, that part of it wasn't, I was like, I get to do this for someone else type of thing. I get to mentor others, which I did, and, later on, I did end up mentoring a lot of young men in the community as well, and I ended up doing the same thing for them, taking them places outside of the block. So, that part of it was very, very influential to me, and it meant a lot to me. And we just had this relationship for I guess it was 17 years. I would go to her classroom, pack her up, and then at the beginning of the school year, unpack her and put everything back together again. And that's what we did. And we had fun doing that, screaming and laughing, and I getting to know the staff even more. Darius here, I'm helping everybody at this point.
Did she have children too or grandchildren?
No, she had no kids.
So you were her baby. So it's kind of like a mutual bond, like something y'all both needed. I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
So, and it kept me off the street of getting into anything that I wasn't supposed to get into.
Right.
So, and, that part of it meant a lot to me too, because then I got to know everybody and everybody got to know me and they got to, ask me what do you want to do? What are you up to? What is going on with you? I'm like, okay, cool. I like the positive attention, because if you don't get the positive, you'll go out looking for the negative, and you'll be in a lot of trouble with that. So I was always, any teacher that I had always had great respect for them. I never had a teacher people like, I didn't like that teacher. I never had a teacher I did not like, because I like to meet people where they are. And I like them for them to meet me where I'm at, and we'll see, but this is your personality, this is mine. So it's like, I really don't know you that well, but I would like to get to know you and see, what's what. So I really never had a teacher I didn't dislike, but I did have a favorite, and my favorite was Miss Sims Morton. I could not, I have to imagine my life without her now, because she's been gone for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I couldn't imagine my life without Miss Sims. And she was someone very important between her and my next door neighbor. His name was David. He had a son that he would bring over, because I was the only child on the block on Overbrook on my block. So he would bring his son over, and then we would play, and then he would take me with them places that I never.
You had a whole village.
Yes, it was like
village.
a mistaken village, and it was like it was needed for me, because I could have been so lost. And
I love that. I love that. It sounds like older people attributed to raising you, because it's something about this generation now is just way different. I know I got to be getting old saying that, but just those old school values. Like I feel like that was her age group was like the last age group that really still has those core traditional values, and I do feel like some of that is needed in today's world. So it's great that you can pass some of those attributes and like character traits and values to your boys as well. Let me read a quick comment because it was from earlier. Andrea said Barry doesn't ever give him enough credit. He's an incredible human, advocate, and single father. I love that.
Thank you.
Hey, Aja. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Hey, y'all. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. So, moving in with my grandmother was a blessing in disguise. I mean, you figure out, you can always talk about what you didn't have and what you wish you had. But when you take a look at what you actually were presented with, then that was the lesson that I needed to know, that you got to be, happy with what you do have. Work with what you got until you get to where you want to be. And I think what I had to work with was pretty damn good. What I had to work with was pretty good. And my grandmother also had a significant other. They weren't married, but I called him Grandpa. His name was Tyson. So he lived with her as well. And having that constant male around too was great, because he was an older guy. I think he was a few years older than my grandmother. I'm not sure, but his name was Tyson. And I tell you, when I first moved in with them, wherever Tyson was, I was. I heard some keys. Where we going?
Yeah, where we going? I love it. He probably had a Cadillac too, didn't he?
No, he had this little itty bitty red car.
Oh, okay.
Red car.
Okay.
But he was the most soft. He told me calmness, and he was the most soft-spoken guy. You never really heard him yell about anything or get upset about anything.
Yeah.
He was just like, well, all right. I mean, and very intelligent guy. I just loved talking to him, and he would explain things, and out here answer my million questions. And I think if you go to my page, you'll see some pictures of me and him. It was always hand in hand, grinning ear from ear, because I just love Tyson. Everywhere he was, I wanted to be. I wanted to go. I wanted to, hey, don't you leave this house without me. I'm ready to go. But having those people around, and as I'm older now and remembering the presence in my life, it didn't seem as big to me then as it does now. And to look back on it and be like, gosh, I can't believe I haven't talked to these people in years, because I can't. But when I had them around, I did make the most of it when they were around. But then you don't think about these types of days when you realize that, oh my God, I haven't talked to them in 18 years. I haven't talked to my grandmother in 10 and 12 years, face to face. I haven't talked to Miss Sims in 10 years. Oh my God. It's just, those types of things, these people that were involved every single day in your childhood, when you needed them the most, because, you feel like, your childhood is the quickest part of your life. You got the rest of your life to be an adult. But the childhood is that foundation where you need people.
And you had a solid foundation. Yes. Even though it didn't come from your bio parents, you had a lot of people, male and female, that seemed like they were just great people in the community. They're teachers and church leaders and stuff like that, but they impacted you. And so I love that you're speaking to like that foundation, because now it goes back to what you said earlier about like the older children, because they still, that foundation is still kind of being laid, right before they hit that 18. But we do know that it is, I don't want to misquote this, but and the foundational like inner workings of kids' brains is like when they're younger, right? But I do feel like there's a second chance right before they have to leave the house or the state considers them an adult. I do feel like having that person in that gap is really important too, which is what you've been speaking to.
Yes.
Yeah,
it is important, because I moved out when I was 19. Like, I didn't waste any time. 3 months after graduating, I'm gone. My grandma was shocked. I didn't tell her till the week of.
Okay. Where did you go?
I lived, where did I move to? It was one of my biggest mistakes. I signed a lease on an apartment that I didn't even see. And
now, friend.
Right.
You was trying to get up out of there.
Yeah, I was trying to get out. I just really, something in me was like, you need to do this now. You need to do this now. Because if you go like to college now, then you might not have anything when you come back. Someone was telling me that. And I tend to try to listen to myself when it's like speaking to me. And that was 2006. By 2010, my father was gone, my grandmother was gone, Tyson was gone, Miss Sims was still living, but it was like the next year she was gone. And I was like feeling like truly on my own type of thing. So I was like, if I would have went away and came back, I would have came back homeless. Oh my God.
No, you was forward thinking in that. That makes sense.
I was trying to be, I'm always a forward thing. I try to think things through, then act. So, with that, I was like, I'm gonna do this now. I'm just gonna do it. And when I got to this apartment, there was a toilet sitting in the middle of the floor because they were still working on it. And I was like, oh, but this is your choice. This is the decision that you make. You're going to make the best of it because this is what it is right now. And I went on through with it, and I wanted to be okay with it. So I had to be okay with it, and I made it work. And with that, I had this job that I needed when I was working I ended up working in childcare, and I met the greatest people. The boss was like one of the greatest people. And it was just one of those things that everything's falling in place again. They know I need this work, and they're going to work me half to death to do it. But, but they also looked out for me. Like if I needed anything, if I needed a day off, if I needed, food or anything, they were looking out for me because it was a family business. They understood family, and they understood that I had a great work ethic, and they were like, he's coming to work. I'll come to work sick. I don't care. These bills got to get paid.
Right. You're on your own now. Yeah.
I'm out on my own. So, it was just another blessing to meet these people and have them kind of take me under their wing and show me how to work in childcare and show me how childcare works. Because I did seriously consider working with kids for a very long time at that point. So, just learning how things work in childcare, and they were just really, really good to me. So I was like, gosh, I think everywhere I went, people were good to me. Like even when I ended up working at Naro before I got that daycare job, I ended up working at Naro because the principal came to me one day. She saw me volunteering. She was like, well, you know the principal, Miss Pierce.
Yes.
Yes.
I was just about to say her name before you said it. I'm like, Miss Pierce was our principal. Oh,
yes. She was still there. And she was like, well, Barry, you're here volunteering. How about you want to make some money? And I was like, yeah, I want to make some money. So she gave me a job and put me on the payroll, and I ended up being like an office hand and a cafeteria monitor person. And that just got me to work with the people that almost helped raise me. Like I got to work with Miss Sims. I got to work with everybody that was still there, So, just everything continues to like fall in place the way that I needed to fall in place. It might not look the way I wanted it to look, but it was just everything seemed to always fall into place when I needed to. Somebody always was, offering me an opportunity when I needed them to offer me that opportunity to help further myself. I was volunteering in the before and after school program at Naro for like all throughout high school, and I got to know the staff there in that program and the supervisor that was working there that would visit. And when I graduated and moved on, and I needed another job, I needed a second job, and I applied to Parks and Rec, and she calls me. She was like, where have you been? We've been looking for you because I've been trying to find you so I can give you a job.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know.
If only it was like that these days.
Right. I was like, what?
I hunt you down and found to give you a job.
Right. And I needed that second job. And who knew that someone was already out there looking for me to give me the job.
God definitely works behind the scenes. Jeremiah 29:11 for sure. Let me read another quick comment real quick. Andrea says, never doubt that you were a shining light in her life. She clearly had a deep love for you as well. What a beautiful gift you were. You both were to one another. Absolutely. Yes. I love it. So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because I have a note right here that you became, so I have that you were a behavior counselor and that you volunteered and worked in the school. So now I know how all of that came about. But you were a foster parent at 20. You moved out at 19. And then the following year you became a foster parent. How in the world? Like when we were talking on the phone, I'm like, they let a 20-year-old like parent somebody else? Like, huh?
They licensed the 19-year-old. So
you can be 18?
That's what the ad said. Let me tell you what happened. So when I was looking for the second job that what I was talking about, my intentions were, back in the day, there were these things called the employment guide that people would get off the newsstand thing. And I was like, in those, there was like a bunch of trucking jobs. And I was like, well, you could be a trucker. You ain't got no responsibilities. You could be on the road. You can do whatever, but you do like working with kids. Okay, great.
Yeah.
In that paper was an ad that said, become a foster parent today. And I was like, oh, okay, well, and it said 18 and up, apply.
Wow.
I said, oh, well, I'm 19. I mean, I wonder how real this 18 and up thing is. So I sat on it. I pondered it for a few days. I gave them a call to set up an interview to go in and talk about what it is to be a foster parent. I don't know what it is to be a foster parent on that end of it.
Right.
I only know what it is to be on the inside, but not the one that's in control of everything. So it's almost like a job interview that you do, and you go in there and you talk to whoever wants a caseworker or whatever. But I ended up talking to the director of the whole program. And we're sitting there, we're talking, and she's looking, and in my head, I'm walking in there, I'm like, ooh, I hope you don't ask how old I am, because that's probably going to boot me right on out of there. I don't care what they ads say. But they, so I ended up talking to her, and I told them, what I've been through, my life story, how, like, working with kids, and why I feel like I'm a good fit for this program of being a foster parent, and how I was like a caregiver already. I mean, I was taking care of, I would look out, babysit for, others, and I would, do the mentoring thing and things like that. So it was more of like, well, I can watch them overnight and get them ready for school. I'm doing everything else.
They sleep anyway.
Right, they sleep anyway, I hope, So, but, so I'm talking to her, and she's like, oh, okay, so you would be really good for this. So how old are you? And I was like, here we go. So I told her, I said, well, I'm 19 going on 20. And she was like, really? And I look like this, by the way. So I'm always been like, nobody really always could tell how old I was until I tell them. Because I grow my beard every year to play Santa Claus. That's what this is about. But other than that, it's like close shave, but it's like this. I've been like this since senior year. So it's like, nobody could tell how old I was. So she said, well, she's like, I believe in you. I believe you can do this. And I said, and I'm like, really? Okay, yeah. So she was like,
believed in you. Look, I'm gonna believe in myself too.
Exactly. I'm like, well, hey, let's try it. But she was very honest. She was like, nobody's gonna just give a 20-year-old a foster kid. You're gonna wait a while. And I said, I'm in no rush. This is just something I want to try. I want to do. And how long it takes, I'll keep my license. I'm about to move because I didn't have a 2-bedroom then. I just wanted to see what the process was. And I told her, I said, I'm planning on moving anyway, so we can just slowly go through the process. And at that time, I was really, really looking for a 2-bedroom. And this is how things fall into place. Come
on, Lord, work it out, work it out. Sharon said, not bury the truck. A great trip to be a dad instead.
My co-host.
Don't strike me as a trucker. No.
That's my co-host, Sharon. But things falling into place in the order. I feel like things fall into place in the order in which they should. That's what I always say. For sure. And I used to do yard work for my old elementary school art teacher, Miss Reed. And I
remember her too. We talked about her.
Yeah, we did. Miss Reed. I said, hey, art teacher.
When she probably don't know me, but show her a picture, see if she remember me.
Okay. And I used to do yard work for her, and we were inside talking after I was done. And she was like, what are you doing? What are you up to? And I was like, well, I'm considering becoming a foster parent, but I need to find a 2-bedroom. So I'm in the process of trying to find a 2-bedroom. She was like, really? Okay. So we part ways. I go on about my business. She calls me like 20 minutes later. She was like, I don't know why I didn't think of this while you were sitting there, but I have a 2-bedroom in Bird Park, the Swan Lake area. And I said, that's nice.
That's a nice area, honey.
Okay. She was like, if you want, what we could do is we could let you move into the 2-bedroom, and we will, whatever rent that you're paying now, we'll let you pay that rent, but you'll do the yard work.
Wow.
I said,
that's a deal, honey. I will take it.
You damn right it was a deal. It was in the Swan Lake area, Bird Park, and I was paying $400 rent. I was like,
that sounds amazing.
It was amazing for a 2-bedroom. anywhere. Even now, I wish I had that now.
Hello. Hello.
Right. But that worked out because, and then it was like my lease was up when we were talking about this. My lease was about to be up like in a month. And I was like, this is perfect. So I end up moving into that place and getting everything ready, getting my home study together. And we're going to wait because who's giving a 20-year-old a kid? So she's, I wait like maybe 6 months maybe. And I get a call and this teenager needed a home. And I'm like 20.
How many months later?
Like 6. It was like 6 months later.
Wow.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was like 6 months. Needed a home. And I said, that's not what we agreed upon. My license says 6 to 12, but okay.
Oh, so you want a 6 to 12-year-old?
Yeah, because it's still the older kids. I always wanted to work with older kids.
Older kids.
You know, some people get into it, they want the little babies and then toddlers. I'm not a fan.
Too much work.
Too much work.
Yeah.
So, and just, they can't communicate. I
would actually prefer that if I were ever a foster parent.
Right.
Because when they start talking, y'all can come get this 4-year-old. They be wearing me out. Give me the babies, the ones that don't talk yet. Thank you very much.
So I prefer the older ones that talked and can tell me, and we could have dialogue back and forth. And I can let you know what it is, what you ain't gonna do, and this is why.
Right.
So they placed him with me, and he was someone. I told him, I was like, look, I just want to give you a chance.
How old did you say he was again?
16.
Okay.
He moved in on his 16th birthday. Straight from the group home. These are not the kids that people are like, oh, yay, because they're in group homes already, and they're hard.
Some challenges.
Yeah, they're hard.
Yeah.
Challenges and whatnot. So, he made it about 6 months. So I was like, all right, you don't need to be here because even though I lived on Lake Road, Swan Lake, the other blocks, they won't.
Okay. That's what they call the real West End. Richmond West End. There's a difference.
There were too many temptations for him. So
yeah.
I was like, you belong somewhere far away from this. You have access to too much that will get you in trouble. So we ended up making him move, and I was an empty nester again for like a month. It was like a month later, and I get a call from the director, and she was like, "Hey Barry, we got this kid. If you want to go meet him, we're gonna set up a meeting or whatever." And I said, "Okay, I'll do that." He was 7 at the time. I was like, yeah, let's do 7. Because she had 2 options. She was like 16 or 7. I was like, let's do the 7. I just got out of 16 world, and I need to recover a little bit.
Yeah.
So I went, and she didn't have any real information on him other than his name. She just had his name. And I said, okay. His name was Daryl, but they spelled it Darrell. And I was like, oh, no, that's the rail.
Real.
That's the rail. He probably, he black. All right. Because the first kid was like white and Puerto Rican. And this kid but in my head, this kid was going to be black. So I go and I meet him where he was. And I'm walking with the social worker to the table. And she's walking. She sits down with these white people and this white kid. And I said,
you are a fool.
And in my head, I'm like, oh, snap.
Oh, this is who I'm meeting today.
Right. And I was like, this is Dell? He was like, yeah, that's me. And I was like,
why you had to mock him like that?
That was, yeah, that's me. I was like, what? So the social worker immediately after the meeting, she was like, will you do it? Will you take them? Because it's supposed to be like a quick move type of deal. And I said, yeah. I'll do it. Sure. So my aunt, she comes into play. I call her on the phone. I said, you're not going to believe this. She was like, She was like, what? I was like, yeah, white kid. What am I supposed to do with a white kid? I don't know nothing. I worked in the inner city of Richmond. There are no white kids
Right.
at that time
Right.
in the inner city of Richmond. I'm used to only black kids. And my aunt was like, damn, ain't no black kids in foster care. We must be doing really good. I was like, it must not be. Because I ain't seen one yet. So she was like, so he ends up moving in like a few days later, and I couldn't wait. I didn't even tell my grandmother. She was still alive at the time. And I just took him over there to see her. And I went upstairs. I left him in the backyard to play with his little scooter, whatever that thing it was that he would carry around. And I told my grandmother, I was like, look, I got another kid in foster care. You want to come meet him? And she was like, yeah, let me get my shoes. So she comes downstairs and she stands on the back porch.
Looking for the boy.
And she said, with her hands on her hips. And my grandmother is a character, so she talked like with a certain, and she would make this noise of shock. Her nose was, oh. And she called me Little Bear because my dad was Big Bear. She was like, Little Bear, they gave you a great kid. So you can do that? Yeah, no, it's like,
oh my God, you are crazy.
She said, well, let me go down here and meet him. And she went and she went and talked to him and whatnot. And he was talking to her. And I can tell you, when I got those two together, they would just talk each other's heads off. I would leave them in the car while I go in there and get her something from her from the store, and the windows be all foggy because they done talk each other heads off.
I love it. I love it.
But it was just such so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I was someone that I wanted to learn how this was going to work. Even if it was staying for a short time.
Right.
I went to work and I asked one of my white friends that I was like, come here, let me ask you something. Mm-hmm. She was like, yeah. I said, look, I just got this little white kid now. So where do y'all go to get your hair cut?
Right. What do you wash your hair with? Like, I have so many questions.
Yeah, when you get there, what do you say? Because when I go, at the time I didn't have dreads. I said, when I go, I just sit in the chair and be like, give me an even and we good to go. Right. So she was like, oh, you go to Supercuts or something. I said, Supercuts? Is that what they doing there? Because I didn't know what was going. I was like, okay. And then I said, well, where do you get clothes from? Because he can't be wearing Rockaway and stuff.
Yes, he can. Fresh, okay.
Right. You know, he had a few outfits, you know. But it was just I wanted to see how this girl, I gave him sunburn. I forgot getting these things.
Come on now.
Took him to the beach, burn him up. Oh, what is this on your back? What is that?
Double foster dad. Awful. Zero stars.
And I tested it. He fell out on the floor, and I was like, oh, man. So, it was just a learning experience. Mm-hmm. I can parent, but I never parented a white kid. So it was just a lot of learning going on. And he loved our family. Like, he loved getting around everyone. He loved calling my aunt up, everything. He just loved, he was a little family kid. He loved the structure of having a family. He yearned for that type of thing at that age. And, I was kind of, anticipating like when they're going to come to get him and take him back. But that conversation is one of the conversations I never prepared myself for, is when someone comes, even though I'd heard the conversation, being on the outside looking in, it was like even worse. So someone telling you that you can't go home, and then how you help them process something like that as someone who's taking care of them, and then them turning to me saying that we're going to start the process of adoption, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that means you got to go somewhere else. And then,
so for another family to adopt him, that's the conversation they had to have?
The process in general. Because before she left, she asked me, she said, would you consider adopting him? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, would you consider me? Like, because y'all must have forgot how old I am now. I'm 20, I'm 21. I'm going on 21 at this time.
You must have been doing a good job.
Yeah, well, I was really taking care of him. And, then he ends up going to school. The school I sent him to, I knew the principal and I knew the counselor, the counselor was Miss Sims' sister.
Wow. Oh, you know Miss Raspberry?
Miss Raspberry, yeah. Yes.
I remember her.
Yes. So
Wow.
she was working at the school, and Miss Battle, who was the principal there, she used to work at Naro too. She was working at the school, and a few other people from Naro working there since, they disbanded or whatever.
Now you are bringing back so many
Yeah.
memories, like elementary school, elementary
Yes.
memories. That's
So,
crazy.
he was there with them, and I felt
Right.
relieved that they
Yes.
knew he was with me.
Right. Right.
So look out for him. He's with me, and we just really embraced them and took care of him and whatnot. And when
I would pay money to see him like interacting with your auntie at the time. Like I know that was funny. I would pay money
it was
to see
great.
that.
And my aunt had like a son that was his age too, so they'd be wrestling and doing all
Like,
and all that
like
stuff.
he didn't just go into like, it's level. How can I say this? The way some Black folk talk is just hilarious. So for that to be the environment he was in, it's like you're not just learning how like Black folk talk. It's like old country Black folks too. Like old, like
Right.
I can't explain it because I have people in my family. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta brace you for when you meet them.
Right.
They look crazy. They talk funny, but it's hilarious. Like you didn't just go into a regular Black folk family. Like so, I would just pay money to hear. Yeah, the colloquialisms and like the way she talk and draw words out. I would love to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like why she talk like that? Oh, that's just my auntie. That's how she talk.
Yeah, that was my grandmother. Yeah, why she talk like that? That was just
yeah. Grandma.
Yeah, that was just her because she had a lot, of mannerisms that were like unreal.
Right.
You are someone that would not be duplicated.
Right. Right. And so for that to be his experience, I love that for him.
Yeah.
I love that for him.
And asking him, all these crazy questions and that because when my grandmother was passing away, she was like in hospice at her house, and I came in there to see her, and I didn't bring him in. I left him in the backyard. I don't think he ever made it inside the house. It was a swing set and everything out there, which was mine, but everything was in the backyard for him to play with. And I remember coming in there to see her, and she was like, "Oh, where my friend, where my buddy?" And I was like, "Oh, he all in the back." And she set up a little bit. She said, "Don't you ever come in over here and not bring him in here to see me." I was like, oh,
you heard what she said.
Yeah, right. I didn't think you want him to see you like this.
Yeah.
He's used to seeing you on your feet and, not in a hospital bed like this. Because he did come with me when she first went into the hospital. I had to pick him up from school. He had to come with me and so I could see what the heck was going on with her. And she was in the hospital bed. So, but I was like, I don't think I want to expose him to this because he's not mine. You know what I mean? He's not legally mine. So I don't know if this is going to affect him in some type of way or if he's used to this type of thing or whatnot.
Can you quickly explain in layman's terms for people who, have heard the term foster parent, foster system, what does that really mean? Because I honestly just found out recently that, they don't always stay with it. Like they may go back. And I'm like, what kind of situations do they have to be into where they leave home and then go back home? So if you could just like quickly in layman's terms explain what the foster care system is.
The foster care system is built to be a temporary solution for families who are struggling to either care for a child or they may be homeless or something like that. And kids need stability. So, you go to foster care until your parents are able to find something stable, like a stable residence. And when you or sometimes kids are being neglected or abused and they need to be taken away as well. So when foster care comes into play, it's supposed to be temporary. You can't stay in foster care forever. So either your parents need to get it together and get rectify the situation, or we need to put you up for adoption because we need to get you in a stable environment because we don't want you in the system forever. And some stay in the system forever because there's not enough homes. So now you're in permanent foster care because your parents not going to get it together, but yet we don't have anybody that's willing to take you. We don't have any family that's willing to take you or any family that's eligible to take you because there's criteria with that as well. And, that's how some of them end up aging out of foster care because there's just no one available to take them permanently or nobody willing, which it makes it sound really mean or really unfortunate that nobody's willing to take you,
And
and you have to stay.
that's why I love that you specified you like working with children that are about to age out, right? Did I understand that right?
The older kids, the 6 to 12, the 6 to 18 are the ones that are considered
Okay.
older and hard to place because they come with their own little baggage, which there's no fault of their own. They didn't cause these situations.
Right. But I love that you're speaking to this though, because it's giving education, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And like for somebody watching right now or the replay, like maybe you've never thought about it. And
Mm-hmm.
his story is I don't want to say lighthearted, but we're laughing about it. We're talking about the good, bad, the ugly. He black,
Mm-hmm.
he got a white boy, had to figure out how, where to get his hair cut. Like these are real life situations, but also kind of humanizes the foster care system. Because when I think about it, I'm like, oh, these kids have been through so much, are they gonna come in my house and tear it down? They may, but it's not always like that. So I love that you're like shedding light on a different side of it. It's like it could be this, but it could also be that. So I really appreciate you sharing this. I've always, for some reason, I don't know why, and I may have shared this with you before, I've always had a desire as a kid. I never saw myself with children, ever, right? I got a 4-year-old now. Love him to pieces. But for some reason, even before I was his mom, anybody's mom, child, I always had a desire to adopt a child. I don't know why or where that came from. And so I really hope I get to fulfill that. I don't know where that came from, but I do want to adopt. I've never thought about like what age I want them to be or anything like that, but I would love to be able to do that. But I've never considered, being a foster parent. So I appreciate you like sharing this.
To be clear, when I was a foster parent, I never knew anything about foster care adoption until it was presented to me. And I said, oh, that's a thing?
Yeah.
You think about adoption, you think about the newborn coming in straight from home from the hospital. The mom then gave him up for adoption. I didn't know that there was such thing as older kid adoption.
Right. And so to segue into that, you are no longer a foster parent. I had to update the verbiage on the fly. I'm like, oh snap, he's not a foster care parent. He's an adoptive dad now. So did you go on to adopt the little guy that you were talking about, or did you adopt somebody else?
No, I ended up adopting my oldest son, who was like he was the placement that I was talking about, the little white boy.
So you ended up adopting him.
Mm-hmm. He's my oldest son. Yeah, that was an interesting situation because they actually came and got him from me to take him somewhere else to be adopted. But they did it without warning. They just came and took him, and I was like, oh. It was something that I did, And once I talked to the social worker, she was like, "No," she said, "We're trying to, honor what he asked for. He asked for a mom, a dad, and a brother." And she said, "We think we found that, and we just want to see if it's going to work out." I said, "Oh, okay. If that's something that he wanted," she said, "Yeah, that's what he said, but I don't think that's going to work out because he's already asking for you. So we're going to give it a few days, and then we're going to see, what happens." I said, okay. So he ended up coming back a few days later.
How long was he?
And he
gone?
He was gone for like, I want to say he was gone for like almost a week.
Wow.
I think he was gone for almost a week. And she brought him back to me, and he ran to me, and I asked him, I was like, "Do you want me to adopt you?" He was like, "Yes, please." He wanted me to adopt him.
Love that. That is so heartwarming.
Yes.
So he was how old when he came to you?
7.
7?
Mm-hmm.
7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then how old is he now?
He just turned 21.
That's time flies. But he was a second foster child that you got, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure I'm following correctly.
Yep.
And you ended up adopting him, and he's it sounds like he's doing well and thriving because we friends on social media. And I think didn't he just graduate or was that the second one?
That's my second son.
Okay, so this one is he in college?
He's just starting to work for us.
Okay,
working his little butt off. Yeah.
But I love that. Like that's a success story. A foster system. Oh, is that how you say it? Foster care success story. You got it when he was 7. He's 21. You figured out how to wash his hair, and get it cut, and care for him, and feed him, and he got his new family, diverse family. I love that. So you're doing a good job. You've gone on to adopt 2 more, right?
Yeah.
Single dad, 3 kids. Y'all ain't gonna believe this. Why all his children white? But it's so cool. Like it's so different. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you've impacted, it don't matter what color you are, you've
No,
impacted
I think
their
that's one
life.
thing I learned through this. The one thing I learned, I think that's what I learned from my oldest son. My oldest son showed me that I could be loved, no matter what I look like and who I am and whatnot. And that kids really don't care. They really don't. They're not out here looking for skin color. They're looking for acceptance and they're looking for love. And they don't really care what you look like. It's about how you treat them and how you show up for them and things like that. So,
So with
that's
your
one thing.
story and you going through the foster care system, even though you didn't move through it the way that they did, you still have foster parents. And you still have two parents that created you, one whom has passed on, God rest his soul, but then you have a mom that is still living, possibly still struggling with addiction, right? And so you're still at heart. We all have a little Barry inside of us, a little Soleil inside of us. And so I love that you made that full circle. Like you were caring for them, but they've also shown you that like there is love and acceptance. And you know that, but it's just reaffirming coming from a child, somebody that's not even yours,
Right.
Even though you had that village, that love, all of that around you, I can empathize and almost kind of try to put myself in your shoes and saying, yeah, I have all these people around me, but it's a different type of trauma and thing that you go through when like the people that birth you for whatever reason are not able to step up to the plate. Like children internalize that differently. Like we can look at it from the outside looking in, but and say, oh, he had support, he had this parent, he had that foster parent, but at the end of the day, your two people that brought you here, it hits different, and it makes you think as a child, some of them anyway, like, well, why wasn't I good enough? Or as a child, you may internalize it like that. So I love that you like brought it back home and you like, no, my foster kids have shown me that I am enough. You know what I'm saying? I'm lovable. I love that.
They did.
Yes.
They did. They, they had their moments, but kids have moments.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to get that confused with like trauma, but just normal things.
Yes. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, kids have emotions too. They hurt too. And when I think about my kids, they're like, we're talking about kids who were put in a situation they didn't ask for, and then they have to roll with it and deal with it. So why can't they be mad about that? We can't allow them to, use it as a crutch or anything. But in the moment of transition, they're mad, they're upset.
And
this is something new.
Rightfully so.
You're here with strangers. It's like I'm a stranger. So it's like you have to give them time to process that and to trust the process of what they're in, and to get them to trust you that you're going to be there for them and take care of them. And when I tell you I've been there for my boys, there's not one thing that I have missed, not on purpose, but been there, and I made sure that I was there when something's happening. I'm showing up. Something going down, I'm down with it. What's going on?
I got a couple questions. Have you ever had people question, like, when you go on daycares, you do not see men, okay? And when you think about the foster care system, and this may be an ignorant statement because I just don't know, I don't immediately think about foster dads. So have you ever had anybody question, like, the reasoning as to why you're doing what you're doing?
Only on, not to my face, only on the internet. We've been viral a few times.
Okay.
You know how people are on social media. So other than that, I haven't. Nobody's. I have friends who are my social media besties who have adopted, who are Black, who have adopted white kids. They kind of did it after me, but they still went through it, and they have been stopped by people. They've been harassed by people that say, oh, where did you get that kid or whatnot. And I personally have never had anybody approach me or my kids and say, hey, where you going with him? Because I know for a fact right now it ain't going to go the way they think it's going to go, and my sons ain't even going to let it go the way they think it's going to go. Everybody going down.
Okay.
Everything going to hell, because they know who I am to them.
They know who I am.
We don't need you questioning nothing. Because if you won't smoke, we got smoke.
That's the north side coming about you.
Right. So nobody's ever walked up on us or questioned me in that manner, especially not in front of my kids, to say, hey, who's that? Yeah.
It's so funny. I was thinking about this earlier, about just because you perceive something a certain way don't make it the truth, okay?
Right.
So just because I look at your situation, I see that you have 3 boys and they're white, you ain't asked for them. That's what you got. You know what I'm saying? The phone calls that you receive, okay, it's a Caucasian boy, he's going through this, blah, blah, blah. Can you take him in? That was the conversation.
Yeah.
And so I challenge people today to check your perception. Just because you think something does not mean it's true. And based on your experiences and what you've lived and what you've seen, you perceive things based on that lens. And there's so many other lenses you can put on.
Because when I was doing my foster care application, on the application it asks you, you know, your preferences, what behaviors you're going to put up with, what nationality of kids you want, you know, in your home or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I checked everything. I was like, well, there ain't no discrimination over here, you know. I feel like I ain't gonna work with anybody at this point. So, you know,
how has since we're a mental health podcast, mental wellness, as a parent, being a foster parent and going through whatever the things that you've been through as a child in the foster care system, how has parenting impacted your mental health, and has it?
Has it impacted my mental health? No.
It's stressful. Parenting is stressful.
It's stressful. But I also was working as a behavior counselor in the schools with other people's kids that had issues. So it was like,
so you had a lot of experience.
Right. I did that throughout the day, and that didn't bother me. You know, that didn't stress me out. It was more of the adults. But anyway, you know, that was literally my job, was to deal with these behaviors and help them rectify those behaviors. Mm-hmm. So having them in the home and doing the same thing was like being at work, but I get to sit on the couch and do it. So
you have some skills. I feel like you've had skills because of your professional background. You had skills to kind of deal with challenging situations and children. What a class at? Let me sign up.
Really?
I mean, I feel like I do well, but with my own things that I'm processing. When you have children and, you know, they're younger, so you haven't had the opportunity to parent, but you've parented other people's kids or helped parent.
And I know also when I worked childcare, my classroom was a 2- and 3-year-old classroom, so I'm doing potty training and tantrums and all of those minor things. You are familiar. So for me, I've been confronting a lot of my beliefs, a lot of my trigger responses, a lot of my ideals around things, my discipline type, all of that. It's been very bringing stuff up to the surface for me. And so this too shall pass, because I look at situations, you know, when he was younger that we went through, that I got over. So I'm doing well. That don't mean it ain't challenging your girl, okay? Right.
Because I don't parent in the way that I was parented, and my parents parented me with the information that they had. I have more information. I'm a single parent. I'm trying to build a business, and so my stress factors are just different. And so that's why I asked that question, because for me, you know, I got my own stuff that I'm carrying, but for other people as well, and that can impact you, you know, mentally, especially when you're trying to be a good parent.
Yeah, when
if you don't care.
When you're like intentionally trying to be a good parent, but
for sure.
One thing about when my youngest son came, he was 4 when he came to me. So, and he was an old 4, like he was an old man 4. So it was like, oh, well, I don't really need to, you know, I got to teach you some things, but pretty self-sufficient there. I like that. So it was like, you know, we're dealing with that age group. It would any child that I work with, or any child that I'm dealing with behavior-wise, you know, the one thing you have to be is consistent. You know, whatever you say is going to happen is going to happen.
Yes.
And you got to stand on it. And mean it and follow through.
And that's my problem. My son got these big old pretty eyes. I be saying,
That's how people like with my youngest son when he was at school. Oh, he's so cute. I like cute. That cute. Time out ain't cute.
Right.
I feel, you know, me being someone who always worked in schools and whatnot, and building a relationship with the teachers and say, hey, don't wait to talk to me on parent-teacher conference. You need to talk to me now, because we're supposed to be working together. And I don't need you to open up the floodgates when I walk in the classroom. I need you to tell me when it happened so I can help you rectify the situation. I don't care. I don't care how cute they are. The problem is the behavior is not acceptable. Not for me as a parent, and not for you as an educator or anybody else that's dealing with them. And if I know about it, they're not going to keep doing it if I know about it. because I'm going to have to confront them about it, and I'm going to have to let them know
Come
it's
on,
not acceptable.
Daddy.
So that,
Whip them into shape.
right, and that's what all of them, whip them into shape, and enforce manners.
Not whip them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Give them manners, give them structure,
Yes.
consistency.
And that's what discipline is. I've
Yeah.
learned on my parenting journey that discipline simply means to teach.
Yeah.
And so you're showing them the way in which we operate in our home and in the world.
Right.
Like I'm giving you the tools that you need in order to do that. Couple things, because I definitely want to talk about, I want to segue into your health.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is we've been talking about AV NARL. We both went to AV NARL. And I actually stayed in some apartments. Okay, let me rewind. Me and my son went in Northside recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, let me take my son to where I used to live at, like where it all started. So I showed him AV NARL. I said, Mommy went to that school right there. He was like, what? Really? What's the name of that school? So we talking, and then we kept driving, and then we what was the name of the apartments? I forgot, but it's on West Home Street. My address was 404 West Home Street when we moved to Richmond, Virginia. Right on the corner, and there's a golf course like on the hill that we used to go to or whatever. But we lived right across the street from the school, just kind of in a little cut.
Mm-hmm.
They tore it down, so it's just, just laying right there. But I was just reminiscing with him. So I think it's so funny how we talk about AV NARL, because I literally, probably about a week and a half ago, drove him over there, to show him where I grew up at or whatever. So this conversation is very reminiscent. But I also wanted to touch on a couple things. You have mentioned, hold on. This was on our call. Rejection. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because I know we've hinted on this whole, children needing support through these times in their lives, and you having a sense of love and just duty, caring for your children. But can you talk about any things that you personally went through, and maybe even your children, in terms of rejection because you don't have your parents?
Well,
let me read a comment real quick. Andrea says, a true humanitarian dedicated to promoting human welfare, period. Yeah. Genuinely caring for and loving others is not dependent on the color of our skin. Yes, I love that comment. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea. So, rejection comes in many different ways. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look the same, but you know it when you see it. Mm-hmm. And one thing I knew is where I grew up, my parents were never far away. They were always minutes away. Okay. So, I had my mother who hung out a lot in Gibbon Court. I live in Battery Park. You could literally walk between the two. How would I go months without seeing you or hearing from you? Things like that. My father, at times, lived in the basement of my grandmother's house.
Wow.
Why aren't we closer? My father also lived at one point 2 doors down from my grandmother in the duplex. Why are we not closer? Why don't I see you as much? Because I know you come see your mama. You're a mama's boy. I know you come see your mama. My father also lived a block or two away from my grandmother, so he brought a whole house. Now, during that time, I did see him quite often because I was the babysitter for him and his wife. But we weren't.
Say that again?
I was the babysitter for him and his wife because his wife had kids or whatever. I was good for that. But
yes,
we still were not close. We didn't have conversations. I can probably say in the lifetime of him living and me being in the presence of him, we had probably had a total of an hour and a half conversation if we add all the minutes up together. So, but I also watched him have conversations with other people's kids, full-blown conversations. And I'm like, you don't got that much conversation for me.
Wow.
I'm not going to force it because I didn't bring me here. You brought me here. I didn't bring me here. I'm not, I shouldn't be having to come and track you down or say, hey, do you want to do something or anything like that because you brought me here. You helped make me. I didn't be born into this crap that y'all created or whatever. My mother, on the other hand, I was a mama's boy for a very long time until there was a period that I went back to live with her for a year.
Hmm.
And I was like 14 at the time, I believe, 13, 14. And it was one of the worst decisions of my life. It was one of those eye-opening experiences where you're like, I will never let anything like this happen again. You will always think before you make decisions because this could have been avoided. You could have avoided all of this. So I went to live with her for that year. It didn't take us but 6 months to end back up in the projects. We ended up in Mosby Court. And I was devastated. I couldn't believe that this was happening again. And for when I got out of that, I ended up going, actually, I ended up leaving her and going to stay with my father.
Sorry, I gotta charge the phone.
Yeah,
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I ended up leaving her and going to stay with my father after this big incident. It was really bad.
You left
really big.
her to go live with your dad? And y'all still didn't talk?
Because I can tell you right now, that only lasted a month living with him. And I was still like but that's when the babysitting began, because I was watching his wife's toddlers and her son, and then he would bring more kids, which like my brother and his brother, and then my baby brother. I was watching a bunch of kids. So it was crazy, and it was something that happened one day. It was something I didn't do or whatever, and he put me out. And this one, he was living 2 doors down from my grandmother. And at that point, I was just mentally depleted, exhausted, because it had just been a whole year of bull. And from both of them. Like, I'm getting this from both of them. Like, dealing with both of them in that same year was just traumatic. So he ended up cussing me out, putting me out. And I walked down 2 doors down to my grandma's house, and I said, look, he just put me out. All I want to do is go back in my room and go to high school, and then I'll get a job and I'll move out. That's all I want. And she said, okay, you can go back in your room. I said, okay. And I went out, because I didn't have anything. I lost everything that I had when I moved with my mom, and I just lost everything. So I only had like a bag of stuff. I lost all my pictures, some of my childhood pictures, everything, fooling with her. So going back up to his house and getting the one little bag of stuff that I did have, and going into this room that I probably should have never left in the first place. And I got to planning, I was serious. I got to planning.
That's why you moved out at 20. That makes sense.
That's why I moved out 3 months after high school. I got to, when I tell you I was serious, I was planning the day that I moved back in there. I said, they don't care. They don't want to do this. I went, and the fun thing was when I did move out that year, you know who found me?
Who?
Miss Sims Morton.
Of
she
course.
Came and found me. And she took me out when I was living with my mom, and she took me out to get me out of whatever that crap was, just for a day, a few hours or whatever. And I was like, I really miss her. I didn't get to see her every day like I did when I lived on the block. So I was like, that's when I started volunteering at the school, because I got to see Miss Sims every day, and everybody else that I know really cared about me. And, even when I moved back in, Tyson was still there. Some people that really cared about me. And Tyson ended up dying like a few months after I had moved back in. I was like, I just really didn't see what I had at that time. I was more focused on one thing that we do as children who don't grow up with their parents or children in foster care. We like to romanticize who we think they are, who we think they could be, and then they continue to show us who they really are, and then we're hurt.
It sounds like you finally, at some point, maybe after these incidents, kind of came to the realization, like, they're not that.
They're just not going to be who you want them to be for you. You're going to have to settle for those who you care about you, and it's not a bad settle. These people actually love you.
Lucky you.
and want to be
You've had
around you. So,
a blessed life
right,
thus far.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it was just a blessing that you refused to see, a blessing that you refused to see. It was all right there. You were just trying to make them be who these people already were. So, like, just focus on these people, because whoever those people were supposed to be to you, they just don't want to be that. They don't want to do it.
Will you say, we'll segue into your heart condition. When you look back at your life and the things that you've experienced, do you think in some way that has played a part in your heart condition or your health status right now?
No, my heart condition probably comes from me. Well, it more than likely it comes from me being a premature. I was also born premature. So I was
Okay.
born early, had to spend months in an incubator to finish baking.
Oh, wow.
And usually when you are in that position, you will have the tendency to develop heart conditions later on in life. So it's later, and I'm suffering with this now, this heart condition thing. So.
Tell us more about that.
So, what is it, 2023, 2022, Barry wasn't feeling too good. Well, actually, it was like towards the end of 2021 into 2022. I wasn't feeling well. But, you don't feel well, but you still have to work. You just can't stop. And, but it came to a point that I started to move really slow. And I wasn't breathing well at all. So when I was younger, I would get like asthma attack, bronchitis, and whatnot. And I thought that's what it was. And I was like, oh, I might need to go get an inhaler or something like that. But I woke up one morning, I looked down, and my feet and my legs were swollen. And I said, ooh, that's never happened before. So what I did was, because I'm a father of 3, and I still had 2 at the house, because my oldest one had moved out by then. So I said, okay, well, I don't want to alarm my sons that something may be wrong with me. So what I did was that morning, after my 2 sons got on the bus, my youngest one was like the last one to leave, I drove myself to the emergency room, and I very slowly walked to the car because I couldn't get any speed behind me because I would lose my breath or whatnot. And driving myself to the emergency room, and I get there, and they're doing blood and tests, and the doctor was like, let me do a ultrasound on your heart and whatnot. And he comes in, he's looking at it, he's like, oh, wow. He was like, you're only working with 15% of your heart. Your heart's at 15% functioning. And I said, and I'm like, what? I said, and he was like, yeah, we're going to have to keep you. Have to keep me. Like, what about my kids? Who keep me? They're at school. They're going to come back, and I'm not going to be there. Because I'm usually there when they walk through the door. That's how I set my schedule up, so I can be there when they walk through the door. And so, thank goodness I do have a village around me. So I called my best friend, who was the kid's godmother, and I let her know that since she works at my youngest son's school, can you just take him home with you? And my middle son, who was still at home, he's like 17 at the time. So I'm like, well, I'll let you know that I'm going to be in the hospital for a few days, and we're going to get some people to bring you some food and blah, 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 and don't worry about it. And then we got to tell my oldest son, who loves me to death, he's like, that's my baby. He's going to lose his mind because I got to tell him now that I'm in the hospital now. He's, oh my God, I got to go to the hospital. You can't come here because it's like the pandemic restrictions or whatever. Like, you can't come here right now. You just chill out. I'll call you if, to update you. Somebody's going to call you if something happens or whatever. So, that whole thing kind of scared them, to know that I may be going away from here, and they will be almost like in the same situation they were before they met me. Who's taking in 2 kids? Who's taking in a teenager? And taking in, things like that. But, the people, they really helped out. My friends from around town, they really helped out. My family helped out, with that whole situation, because it was a nervous situation. It was like and even when I told you on the phone, I was like, I'm gonna find a reason to smile even through this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know this seems dire right now because I probably was on the verge of a massive heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was laying there in the hospital when they finally got me into a room and I finally got settled, and I looked up and I said, "But you're still alive, boy." I was like, "But you're still alive. You're still here, and you're gonna get through this. I don't know what this is, but it's gonna be fixed."
Have you gotten like a diagnosis or anything yet?
Well, I have congestive heart failure.
Okay.
I'm still operating at 20%. So a few weeks ago, I had to get a ICD, which is a defibrillator, and a pacemaker put in. So I have a new little friend in the chest to monitor the heart.
Yeah.
And to the defibrillator is for the shock the heart because my heart is in danger of stopping. So they give you a defibrillator to shock it in case it stops. So I get one of those, and I'm recovering from that, and it still feels weird. But you know, again, I'm still here, and I'm still, you know, it's back to business. As you can see, I'm in the studio. It's back to business.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to like have no pity party about it. You know, it's just another hurdle in this life that I've been living, and I'm still amongst the living. It could have been over. I could have just stayed home and let the heart completely fail.
It's true.
And then that probably would have been traumatic for my sons to find me there.
Yeah.
You know, but I said no. Because leading up to it, I hadn't slept in like a week because I was scared that I was going to kind of die in my sleep. And I didn't want my boys to feel like that. But I was like, I was making plans to go to the emergency room because I didn't have insurance at the time because it's hard to get insurance when you're like an entrepreneur.
Oh,
or whatnot. Yeah. So, but my plan was what had happened. My youngest son was playing basketball. He'd been practicing and whatever. And of course, as I'm getting sicker, it's the game. The first game's about to happen. I'm like, but my baby has been practicing all this time, and he's going to miss the first game. And I really want to, you know, see him do this. You know, we've been practicing. He can't play basketball worth a damn, but we need to get him there.
But you want to be there.
That night before, what I made up my mind was, I said, "You're not going to go to sleep, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to take him to this basketball game. We're going to get him there. And then the next morning, you're going to go to the emergency room after he gets on the bus." And that's what I did because that was the slowest walk. It took me forever to get to the bleachers from the car. And I told him, I said, "Go on in there. I'm coming eventually." So it was like, he didn't realize, you know, which I didn't want him to worry or whatever. But you know, that night I sat there, I was like, even if it's like the last thing I get to do, I'm like, I did this for my son. My son deserved to be at this. You know, he practiced really hard to, you know, play basketball. And the day before the game, I'm sick. No, we're going to the game. And if it's like the last thing I get to do, then that's just going to be what it is. But I did this for my son because I did everything. My whole life at that point revolved around these boys, you know? So I'm like, if this is the finish, we're going to finish up this way.
Yeah,
because
we're going to finish it strong.
Right, we're going to finish strong. It will make me happy.
That's a positive attitude to have because I know that's scary. You talking about your heart.
Yeah.
Okay, once your heart is done, that's done. You can't get can you get a new heart? I don't think you can get a new heart now. You know?
Right.
So I admire your tenacity to just be positive through what you're going through. And it's my prayer that you have that village. You know, I know some of the strong pillars that you had when you were younger, they've gone on, but I know in my belief system, I believe that they're definitely still here with you and, you know, just still around and still giving you that love. So it's my prayer that physically you still have people that are rallying behind you and your family, your boys.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it's very important to have, like, even as a single parent, to have people that can help pick up some of the pieces because I do everything, and I'm not one that just asks just to be asking. I just can't do it at the moment. I need someone to.
And I love that you ask.
Right.
I love that you ask. Like, so many people expect folk to anticipate their needs, but some people have. Everybody got something going on, But you never know, they may have a little bit of capacity to help you if you advocate for yourself. So I always tell people, don't self-sabotage you and your life and your situation, your family by being too prideful and asking for help, honey, because all my needs get met, especially when I ask, okay? So kudos to you for doing that, because I know a lot of single parents and people in general, parents are not that struggle with that.
Right.
And it can be to their detriment at times. So,
and it can affect the kids in a negative way too, because
for sure.
And I was like, nah, I don't want. I need help right now. I need just somebody to be there for my boys. Even when I went into the surgery a few weeks ago, and they put me to sleep, and the nurse was like, "First thing you said when you woke up was my boys. Where my boys at?" And I was like, "I did."
Of course you did.
I didn't know I liked them that much. But they were, I think, like I was telling people on my show, they were like probably the last thing on my mind before I went under. And they were going to probably be the first thing I was thinking about when I went out. So, just making sure that they're okay, because, like I said, they didn't ask for this situation. I brought them into my home. You know what I mean? I kept them in my home. So I want to make sure that they are okay in every way.
Absolutely.
And the me coming out of that with the anesthesia and them being the first things I'm talking about, I'm like, yeah, I really do love my boys. I mean,
for sure. And I think, just hearing your story, because I don't know you that well, but just hearing your story and what you've shared, even before you said what you just said about you coming from anesthesia and saying that, I think that shines through. And that people know that you have a heart for what you do, and just to see what you've gained from caring from them and what they've been able to gain, which is a steady home, a steady place to lay their head, food, foundation, values, that is invaluable. And I tell people, I have to say this because I'm a huge advocate for thriving homes, whether that has two people, parents, or one parent. We can't change the situation. It's not for us to pick and choose when we want to, shun people, why it's only one person. There's so many reasons why there are two people in a home or one person in a home. At the end of the day, there are lives that need to be impacted and lives that deserve to thrive. And so I appreciate you for doing what you do, and any other foster parent, adoptive parents out there for stepping in, because parenting is not easy. It's very challenging. But I think what your story has highlighted is that when you have a tribe and a community of people to rally around you, it can just move mountains, So I'm happy that your boys have a solid place to land. But the thing that I wanted to say is that, single parenting, it's a journey, but you are doing a really good job. You are doing a really, really good job, and it shows. Your boys are thriving and moving forward in life, and that's all they can ask for. As foster children, and before you adopted them. So kudos to you and all the other single parents that do what I'm gonna say we have to do, because it has to get done. That somebody has to do it. You didn't have to step in, and you did. So kudos to you. I got 2 comments I want to read, and we're gonna wrap it up. We got a really good episode here today, as always. Pray Eat Talk. Miss Teresa says, so powerful. This story just made me reflect on Jeremiah 1:5. Honey, I know some scriptures, but I don't know that one by heart. You gotta put what that one means. Andrea says, our kids give us more strength and determination than we could ever imagine possible. Yes, Lord. Yes. Thank y'all, Soul Tribe, in the comments, also in the replay, for interacting with us. This has been episode 24 of Soul Seek Conversations, a mental wellness podcast for resilient humans on the grow. We have had our guest in the Soul Seat, Mr. Barry Farmer. It has been so lovely talking with you and hearing your story. And my hope and prayer that you all got something out of this. And Barry, just thank you for being so open,
for having me.
so transparent, so funny and candid. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being a thriver. And I'm wishing you the very best. I'm following you, so we definitely gonna be talking, because I know we got some other stuff that we want to talk about.
You have to
I'm
come
rooting
here
for you
and hang with me at the Barry Farmer Morning.
I'm ready, honey. We just gotta set a date. We're gonna figure it out.
Come on, have some fun with us. Talk about Soul Essentials.
Soul Rise. Okay, don't forget the Rise. Because we're trademarked. You gotta say the Soul Rise Essentials.
Yes.
Is there any way that people can support you? What you want them to know? How can they follow you?
Well, you know, you can follow me. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at I am Barry Farmer. And if you need an extra dose, you can always visit barryfarmer.com.
Yes, I love it. You have an amazing day. I'm going to stay on here for like 1 or 2 more minutes, close
Absolutely.
out. But thank you, Barry. I appreciate you.
Hey, talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye. That was another episode, y'all, and it was fantastic, as always. If you want to see this recap and others, all you got to do, I know you know how to get off live. I know you know how to get off live.
How do I get off live?
There's an X. It's an X at the top right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Barry know he is young enough to know how to get off live, y'all. He was struggling. But yes, no, if you want to watch this episode and more, follow us on YouTube. We are building our YouTube community. And of course, follow us on Instagram if you have it. We were supposed to be live on TikTok today, but y'all, I got in my office a little too late. But anytime that you want to see this episode and more, YouTube is where it's at. Every single episode is on YouTube. If you have a mental wellness or resilience story that you would like to share on our platform, feel free to email us at mystory@soulriseessentials.com. Again, I am your host, Soliel Lindsey, owner of Soul Rise Essentials. To learn more about what we do and to purchase our affirmation and mental wellness merch for you and your entire family, all you got to do is go to soulriseessentials.com. That's SOLRISE essentials.com. We appreciate the support and we look forward to welcoming you into the Soul Tribe family. We love you. Take care of yourself, my friend. Amazing episode. Thank y'all so much. Shout out to the Soul Tribe. Love y'all. See y'all next month for episode 25. It's going to be a treat. It always is. Peace, y'all. Stay well, be well, and continue to shine your light.